right. Congratulations, guys. Thanks for hopping on beyond your workday schedule.
No worries. Yeah, man. It's great to be here.
Yeah.
Terrific. I just want to comment. I feel like you guys look like musicians already, just by talking via Zoom. But
That's true. Yes.
But tell us what sparked the idea of making a documentary about the Descendents all.
We're huge fans of the band. Both Deedle and I, they're like one of our favorites for a long time, and Deedle and I, guilty as charged, we play in a band together. And years ago, like even years before we started doing the movie, we got to meet Stefan, the guitar player of the Descendents, and we worked with him. He produced one of our records, and he's like the nicest guy in the world. And we were like in the studio with him, spending money on studio time with him. But we were just asking him questions about the Descendents and handing him a guitar and saying, "Play Scary Sad," So we were like such like nerdy fans basically. And there's no movie out there, and it was like, hey, let's see if we can do it.
Yeah, I'll just add that it's interesting how little there was really about the band. They're very undocumented, before the film, and so it was crazy how cool the story was and how many parts there were to it. And some of these things if you are part of the band lore and the albums and the lyrics and the songs, but to the average even punk rock fan or music fan, they don't know any of these things. And then for the larger potential audience, it just seemed like too cool of a story and too cool of a band to not try to get that out to more people.
So besides Steven, where did you want to start? I mean, this is a lot of research. I didn't even know this story was this extensive for a band.
Yeah, I mean, Stefan was like the in, and like I say, he's very, gregarious guy, easy to talk to, nice, literally the nicest guy I've ever met, probably, and very open, but then you got Bill, who, when you don't know him, and when he doesn't know you, he's the complete opposite, where he is the closed clamshell, and prying that open took a long time, and we knew if we couldn't get Bill on board in some way, that we couldn't really do this. We could maybe do something else, but not this. And so, yeah, that was like the goal, to try to get Bill on board with it, trying to find something that he could connect with us.
Yeah, and I think we kind of figured out the way to tell the story as we started doing the interviews and hearing the stories, and we knew a lot about the band even when we started, but we learned so much more through the process, and it became a huge can of worms we opened. And so it was the biggest challenge was figuring out how to tell that story in a very succinct amount of time. And there's tons of stuff we obviously you can't tell it all, and we had to leave a lot out, but we feel like we got the gist out there to the masses, and certainly a place where people can dig their teeth in.
I didn't realize there were so many people under Descendents and all, so many reiterations of that band and of that group. Was it hard to track down everybody, or was it relatively easy, and were they hard to be convinced to be part of your documentary story?
Well, for the most part, we got everybody was people in the band, and people, especially people not in the band, people love to talk about that band, and so we were able to get pretty much anybody we asked. There's an exception or two of people we wanted, couldn't get. And yeah, it's a trust thing. A lot of, and maybe some of the people that didn't want to participate in it, it was kind of like they didn't know who we were. It's our first film. They had no idea, what angle we're doing, and so I think we had to earn trust of a lot of people, I think, to kind of get in there and they could tell by how we were talking to them what our motives were, you know.
But in that case, the people that's not in the band, you managed to bring in a lot of good named artists to talk about them. Did you actually had to pull strings and connections to get those people in there into the documentary too?
A few people were more challenging to get, more so just because some of the bigger artists, you know, they have handlers, you know, and people that block people like us, you know, from access. But thankfully, if you can get to the artist, they're the first that would like, yeah, I'll do it, sign me up. And so we had a little help actually from Bill, of all people. Like he commands the most respect probably amongst all the bigger artists. And once he, you know, if we couldn't get something happening, Bill could directly text message Dave Grohl and say, hey, these guys are trying to make this movie. And Dave's like, yeah, totally, man. And then Dave, you know, then we get access to the right manager that we need to contact. And then it's like that, you know, you get the setup. And so, but generally most everybody, it was pretty quick. People responded fast and they were on board. And I think it's because so many of the people that love and respect Descendents will be first in line to, you know, to talk about it.
Well, I was very impressed that you got Dave on board. That was terrific. I'm also very equally impressed the fact that you guys got all this old footage of their concerts, of their music and stuff. Who kept all that footage, and how much footage did you guys have to like watch and go through just to pick them out and edit it for your documentary?
I'll let Deedle take that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, early on, we actually set up a website where people could submit old photos and flyers and videos, but the vast majority of the really old stuff came directly from Bill's archive. And Bill historically doesn't like people to video their shows, especially back in the old days with like the handheld, you know, old video cameras. And he used to send out their roadie sound guy Bug out to go, you know, tell him to turn the cameras off and stuff. So, but stuff got out there. People got their videos and they would send them to Bill, and Bill would just put them in a box and like never look at them again. And so once we really got to know Bill and we kind of earned his trust, he just handed over like 6 or 7 huge boxes of old film negative, old prints and photos, old videos and flyers. And so that was like the jackpot for the archival stuff. And nobody had seen most of those videos. I mean, they just weren't anywhere. You couldn't go on YouTube or anywhere. So that was pretty awesome and incredible to get that stuff. And I mean, to this day, I can still go back and watch it. I have it all digitized, and I'll just go watch an old Descendants show. You know, the whole show is on video from like 1984 or 1985 or whatever. It's pretty awesome. So yeah.
Did you guys try to do new footage besides the interviews? You know, like because I'm not sure when you guys actually started this project. Obviously, I'm assuming it's before the pandemic, and they probably did a few shows, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We went to lots of shows with them. When we started, they were playing at Fun Fest in Austin. That was originally scheduled supposed to be Devo was on the bill, and the guitar player at Devo cut his hand or something and couldn't play. And I guess the show booker went down the punk rock Rolodex and said, all right, not Devo, how about Descendents or something, you know, but anyway, we got called to do that show. And that's when we had already been kind of gearing up to start doing interviews. And that's when it's like, hey, I think we're going to start playing some shows again. And so we went to all of them. That was the first one. And we just went to 2 years worth of shows with them. I think, I can't remember, but yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of all the new footage. It's like stuff that we shot.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. In the case, since you guys are big fans of the Descendants, And I'm also assuming you're also big fans of all too. So even though technically they're one of the same band, but what is so magical that to you guys that you have so much love for this band?
I don't know. I think it's a lot of things overlapping into this, like, they contain so many elements that I personally just love. I mean, I discovered this band. I discovered all first, actually, and then kind of went backwards and then forwards with them. But they're punk rock. They're very melodic. I mean, their songs are amazing. Like they do it in the confines of these like quick punk rock songs, but the songs themselves, I mean, are so kind of classic melodies and very original yet classic and singable and catchy and all that stuff. And then the lyrics, to me, to this day I'm connected to them, because they write about their life. That's what they are. They're not, their story and their music is like the same thing, and so and then just the people, I love how focused they are. They're this band. They've always been one man, one instrument, one guitar player in the band. You know what I mean? They're very militant in some ways that are just so appealing and inspiring. And they're almost like this, kind of this idealized punk rock band, but without a mohawk. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're just dudes.
Was it the same for you, Deedle?
Yeah, I mean, I could just agree with all that. I mean, there's not much to add. It's just the connection to the songs and the lyrics. Great, incredible musicians. I say they're like the Rush of punk rock. Very technical players, and yet they're playing it in this super caffeinated, fast punk rock, but great melodies and sing-alongs, and then they have funny songs and super, super heavy, serious songs and songs about broken hearts and love. And they cover the full gamut of life. And so it's easy to connect to songs like that for me, as opposed to songs that are more, I don't know, bigger and more of storytelling type songs that are, more like not real or whatever. Their songs are
they're very raw. Yeah, it's like a raw thing. Yep, polished, because they're so good,
I like the fact that you guys did actually, talked about Milo pretty much, because I felt Milo, is his caricature on the albums and on the posters. For himself, because he comes on and off on with the band. Does he realize how big he meant to the band during all these years, or he just basically just wants to be humble and saying, I'm a scientist?
I think he's realizing. I think when he was in the band originally, they had a little fan base, and they would do these small tours. But this is like in the early 80s and stuff. And they were, just a small band, slept on the floor of their practice room, and he's like a brilliant dude, science-minded guy. And he wanted to go do that. I mean, to him, it's very similar, because he talks about how in science and in music, he has the same attitude, that they're passions of his, and he wanted to go do this one for a while. And yeah, he was able to kind of come back in and out of it. The other guys are just musicians, Bill's a producer, so he can make some money that way. But the other guys these guys, that's all they did. They dedicated their life to these songs, and Milo kind of holds the key in a lot of ways of for any success of all, because it's just the way our culture is. People, Descendants are just more popular. And we love Milo, and of course Milo has a certain quality that you connect with and stuff, but so do the singers of all. And it's very much the same band, because they're all same songwriters, writing the same stuff. But it's just funny that you go to an all show and there's 50 people there, when you saw the Descendants a few months ago, and there were thousands of people. Yeah. And it's to be Milo, that's got to be a weird feeling,
Absolutely. And you mentioned before you had to basically build trust with Bill, and obviously without Bill there wouldn't be a documentary. But how did you manage to convince him to talk about his health and his father? That was, I was actually like, my jaws dropped when you actually put that into the documentary, because that was a very personal thing.
That's you, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it was you know, we were following the stuff that we felt like. So the things that I'm connected to with their music are like their lyrics, and through their lyrics, I feel like I know them. And so I was asking questions. And like I said, they have songs about coffee. So we talked about coffee for an hour. And then they have songs, you know, I mean, the things they're passionate about. And the health issue, of course, was huge, just a huge moment in the guy's life. And it was he got through it and was able to, you know, it's like a real huge part of his life. So that was, you know, and for the band's life too. And the stuff with his father was because, you know, he has a couple of songs about his dad. And to me, they were always a little more cryptic than some of his other songs that, you know, you always knew when he was writing about getting his heart ripped out by a girl, and it was very obvious. And the songs about his dad, if you didn't really know, you kind of wonder what was going on there, you know. And his dad, you know, was a big influence on him in a lot of ways. And so it was just naturally, I just, you know, kind of started asking. He wasn't sure if he wanted to talk about it. I wasn't sure if we wanted to ask him to talk about it, but he brought it up. He brought up one of the songs. So we followed it, and, you know, he was very willing to just kind of, you know, be what he's always done and just be honest, you know. It was pretty remarkable though, and scary in a lot of ways, you know.
I think that was an excellent move. You brought in you know, the human elements of the band that we could actually, you know, more relate to. So with both of you guys, this being your you know, your first, you know, film, you guys want to do something like this again?
No. No. I mean, this to me is kind of a very unique project. I think there was a lot of things that were unique, and that we somehow were able, we were the right people at the right time. And there was a lot of things. So it's not kind of something that we had this master plan and that we could recreate. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, Deedle's been working on a new film with another band, and it's kind of a, you know, as you know, like the process of making stuff like this takes on its own quality. And so to make a movie like this, though, I don't know. I don't know, to get into the details and to, first of all, find a subject that I love enough to really like go down all the rabbit holes, you know. I don't know. I mean, I am working on something with one of the guys from All, actually doing like a little kind of calling it a concert film with him. So it's a performance and some documentary stuff. And he's a really interesting, quirky dude. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, you know, I don't know about something this big. How about you, Deedle?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm helping produce another film. I'm not directing it and not as involved, but I think there's another film in there, maybe another one of this scope. I started this film right when basically my kids were born. And so like now, you know, they're growing, and I would imagine it'll probably be once we're not in that era. But because yeah, I mean, this was years of our lives, you know, like just because we were figuring it out, and just because how big it was and how much it required to figure things out and go through so much stuff. And you know, we didn't have a massive team. There was really like four of us that were working on this primarily. So it took, it was years.
Well, I've covered a few music documentaries before, and a lot of music documentaries always portray, the smaller bands as the fact that they don't make any money. So you guys are musicians yourselves. Why do you guys love to do this stuff? Because it seems like it's something that we should convince children, like, don't ever become a musician. You're not going to make any money. You'll be sleeping in the van, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That is a very good question. I don't know. I mean, I've heard somebody recently say how, I heard somebody answer a similar question. It's like, I'm not really, and they said, I'm not really driven to do it. I'm pulled to do it, because of like for me, music, there's times in my life where I hadn't done it for various reasons, because I was having to make money and stuff, but you always come back to it. It's like, it's just like anything else. It's who you are. It's what it's not even necessarily like it's the most fun thing in the world. It can be very frustrating to make a movie or to do music, it's because you're like, trying to make something, and that's hard, but there's something, for some reason you go back to it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all the things I've done in my life, both my passions and career, revolve around music and creating, and now filmmaking, and yeah, it's I've had recording studio, and then moved more over to the video and film production side. And I mean, music to me is kind of, at least personally, kind of the more most purist, I guess, of at least my artistic expression. And so when I used to try to do it as a way to make money, or even when I was doing a recording studio, it was trying to figure out a way to monetize, money. And I think that is a super hard place to be. And it sucks that people can't, monetize, their music and art in that way. It's just a tough business, and there's so many bands and musicians and artists, but yeah, it's yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, like Matt, it's like I'm drawn to it. I have to still do it. I have to still write music and play music, and it's still worth it, just for the expression and the that aspect, aside from the money. But yeah, I wish bands and artists had a way to monetize their money better, but yeah, it's a tough. Artistic people tend to. I always talk about how art dealers, which there are art dealers in all types of the arts, whether it's the film industry or actual art or the music industry. They're the business minded that find ways to monetize off artists, and artists just want to create, they want to do their thing. And so I kind of dabble on both sides now, but I have so many friends and artists, that are just all the art side, and they just create, and I feel bad for those people, because they tend to get taken advantage of and can't.
Well, and I would add that, the other thing, especially about an independent musician, or under, punk rock, whether it be punk rock or really any I mean, right now we're in a place where most music being made is independent, people trying to figure out new business models and all this. And, it's just a kind of a precarious place to be, for our culture. Right? It's strange. I mean, it's not that there was ever a perfect business model that now doesn't work, but I think while it's exciting that there's new opportunities, it's also, as a independent, as the person doing it, it's really hard to self-promote, and when you're starting and you're alone, you have to do that. And I think a lot of people don't have that skill set. Like, I can sit here and tell you how great the Descendents are all day long. I love them. I mean, it's easy for me, but they can't, they couldn't promote themselves. That's one of the reasons they flew under the radar for all these years, I think, because they're not going, hey, they're not like some of these bands you see on Instagram or whatever, talking about how great they are. You got to check this out. And, there's no interest in that. It's almost an aversion to that, so, but that leaves you out in the cold a little bit, so yeah, I don't know. That's one of the reasons I wanted to make a movie like this, is because I love talking, I love the music. It needs to be out there more,
That's great. Well, let me leave with one more thought, because obviously, being musicians and filmmakers yourself, but obviously during the past year, times are a little bit crazy. How are you guys staying sane and creative during this time? Who wants to start?
I mean, I'm, where Deedle and I are both songwriters, you can still, and the base of the kernel of that is always sitting alone in a room by yourself for hours and hours. So that doesn't change, but yeah, the sharing it part is really tough. I mean, I tried a lot of, I kind of throwing a lot of stuff out there. I tried hosting like a music show where we'd showcase bands doing their bedroom recordings and stuff, and right now I feel like a lot of people are in this incubation stage. I mean, we feel this pressure of like, hey, we have extra time and I need to put all my stuff out there, but I don't really think we need to. I mean, I think it's great what people do, and I do too sometimes, but I also think it's going to continue. And how great is it going to be when we have all the tools and, in our arsenal, or whatever the metaphor is, and we can actually start doing stuff again, and maybe differently, because I think everything's going to be irrevocably changed. Every industry, especially creative industries, and so there's excitement there for me. But it is frustrating in the short term, no doubt.
Deedle?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of creating during this period of time. So for me, it's been a very, I guess, kind of fruitful period. I'm just the part that I'm definitely ready. Like for me, like the music part is the thing I like the most about music is being in a room with people, like whether that's just in band practice or when you're playing live and playing shows. And there's just something about a live music event that's special. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most, because I had just started kind of getting a band back off the ground kind of right before the pandemic hit. So I mean, Matt and I both have made plenty of like music videos and music concert type deals over this last year, but it's those are starting to feel kind of played out and done. And but so yeah, I mean, on the other things, yeah, it's felt like for me the creativities continue to happen, because so much of it happens by yourself, if you're writing, whether it's music or just writing ideas or coming up with stuff. So
and I think a time like that, like where we all find ourselves now, I mean, it feeds that. I mean, it's what kind of music and movies and art is going to come from people who have now gone through their version of this. They're, like I say, I think it's changed, and I'm not trying to like over analyze it or whatever, but I think I feel, like I said, I feel like there's immense pressure right now, because everybody's like, oh, man, I have an iPhone and I have a guitar and should I go live today? Should I put out a thing on Bandcamp, or you know what I'm saying? Or should I put videos up on YouTube, and should I do one a week? And all these business models that nobody knows what works. And moreover, nobody knows what's right for you. And so it's a cool time to experiment right now. And but it's a experimenting. Yeah, there's a lot of failure involved in that. So you kind of feel like, what the hell am I doing sometimes? But I have faith that we're all going to kind of come out of this with like a renewed sense in our own way.
Absolutely. Well, let's keep the optimism going. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Congratulations on Filmage here. It's a great story, and thank you for bringing the Descendents and all story out to the world.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.